Welcome to Best Picture This, where it is always Oscar season. I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian. In this show, we reevaluate every Best Picture nominee from the 21st century and decide whether to keep it or kick it from its Oscar pedestal.
But today isn't just any episode. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for us, Brian, because today we kick off our miniseries on the films of 2006. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but looking ahead at the nominees, I feel like I'm starting to see a little bit of a shift. You got a small budget
from establishment.
Movie. A little bit. You got a small budget movie in there. You got this like blockbuster gangster flick. Am I looking too much into it?
I wasn't sure if this was still part of your Queen puns or jokes or anything.
No, there wasn't any Queen
puns. That's past.
In
Okay.
Yeah, I kept this one pun free.
Yeah, 2006. I don't know. It's always kind of fun at the beginning because you have all the cream of the crop to pick from.
Well, let's run through them here. In 2006, the nominees for Best Picture were Babel, Little Miss Sunshine, Letters from Iwo Jima, The Departed, and today's movie, The Queen, directed by Stephen Frears. Here's the trailer.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm sorry to disturb, but it's the Princess of Wales.
Why? What's she done now?
I have some very sad news to bring you.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has died after a car crash in Paris.
The Prime Minister, Tony Blair,
Is about to make a statement.
Princess Diana touched the lives of so many others. She was the people's princess.
No member of the royal family will speak publicly about this. Diana's no longer a member of the royal family.
What are you talking about?
Charles, this is a private matter. We do things in this country quietly, with dignity.
Will someone please save these people from themselves?
Questions are being asked about why the Queen hasn't addressed her subjects at this time of national grief.
The Prime Minister for you, ma'am.
You've seen today's papers. 70% of people believe that your actions have damaged the monarchy.
Who does he think he's talking to?
You can imagine I'm going to drop everything and come down to London before I attend to my grandchildren. Then you're mistaken.
Try and see it from her perspective. She's been brought up to believe it's God's will. She is who she is.
I think we should leave God out of it.
What would you suggest, Prime Minister? Some kind of a statement?
The moment for statements has passed.
Are you all right?
Something's happened. There's been a change, some shift in values. Maybe he's got a point. What if my actions are damaging the crown? I prefer to keep my feelings to myself. Foolishly, I believe that was what the people wanted from their queen. When you no longer understand your people, maybe it is time to hand it over to the next generation.
This trailer would have
The
you
music.
believe that there is a lot of drama in this movie.
The most dramatic decision that anyone has to make in this movie is whether to have a press conference or not.
Yeah. Or should I walk outside of the gates or inside of the gates?
Now, I did like the movie, so I'm not making fun of it, but it is kind of funny. Like we talked about, your observation on The Insider, an action movie with no action. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like a drama with no drama. Depends on how you view it, but the drama is kind of sometimes hard to relate to unless you're probably there. But again, I did like this movie. So Stephen Frears, the director, some others that he's directed include Florence Foster Jenkins, Philomena, The Queen in 2006, of course. Before that, High Fidelity. He was nominated for Best Director for The Grifters. This movie was Helen Mirren won Best Actress for this movie. You think that's deserved?
I think she's very good.
She's very good. I'll have to watch some more.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm not going to start talking deserved in the first episode of the miniseries.
It was also nominated for original screenplay and music. Roger Ebert came out of recovery from surgery to give the film a review, in which he called it spellbinding and gave it 4 out of 4 stars. I mean, talk about a heroic effort. Golden Globes gave this the Best Actress for Helen Mirren and Best Screenplay, and it was nominated for Best Director. The budget was $15 million, and it made $123.5.
Love that.
Coming up in the show, we will ask each other 3 questions guaranteed to produce Golden Takes. We'll talk a little trivia, and then keep it or kick it.
But first,
question number 1.
Our questions. It's well documented that biopics are not my favorite genre. Would you say that's fair?
I would say that's pretty fair, yes.
I think of recent ones like Ray and Walk the Line as examples of this. But Capote last year changed the tone a little bit, and now The Queen, I think, is confirming the trend. And the key difference between the good biopics and the kind of lame ones, in my book, are whether they try to cover the person's entire life, or if they try to get insight into the person through one very specific event in their life. So what do you think? Do you agree that the birth to death structure is a problem and The Queen avoids it, as did Capote? So is this a new trend?
I did think, I after watching this, I wondered, because I haven't really watched new movies hardly at all. I mean, you've kept up with them pretty well, somewhat, but I really haven't. And I was kind of thinking, what does a biopic, like King Richard, what does a biopic even look like now? Because we've complained about a lot of them. I have too, not as much as you have, well documented, as you said.
I complain a lot.
Yeah.
We can be fair.
But I do think that I think that trying to cover the whole life is often a problem. I think that this one, it allows the person to, I don't know, it's not like they don't make anyone look bad in other biopics. I mean, Ray looks pretty bad. Johnny Cash looks pretty bad in Walk the Line at different times.
They do and they don't, though. They look bad just so that they could rise up. You know, and overcome this adversity to then look very, very good. I
think when it comes down to it is whether it's a biopic or not, if you can have a sort of complex ending, I'm much more interested in it. You know, this is not like telling a story about the Queen so that she will look good in the end. It's not the point. It's telling about a pretty interesting debate and issue that affects, I mean, you see all these people in the news clips crying about Diana dying and how passionate they are about, you know, the Queen's role in the country. So, it avoids the birth to death, which is helpful.
First of all, a production note. I'm realizing we blew it. We should have done a double feature with Spencer.
We should have. We could still do Spencer sometime. But
yeah. But I think that we've always kind of done biopics this way, but the subjects are different. Like you think about The Insider that you mentioned, you think about Aaron Brockovich, but those are looking at people that are less well known than people like the Queen or Churchill or Ray Charles or whoever else. And I think that's kind of the difference is when we focus on somebody who isn't so famous, we can focus on just the event that's important. So then the story becomes important. But when we focus on somebody who's hugely famous, then we kind of make the mistake in thinking, oh, that person is what's important. And the story kind of comes second, which is probably the wrong approach.
I think that in this one, like in Munich, I was asking whether that movie had a journalistic impulse. Do you feel like this had a journalistic impulse?
Yes and no. Basically, because it's about PR. Yeah. Yes. But I was more interested in that
because it's about PR.
Because it's about PR. You know, it's a movie about the Queen.
Mike is a PR professional.
But really, it's about optics.
It totally is.
And that's interesting to me.
It is.
You use this really famous thing as a springboard to talk about this very, very ordinary thing. And that's a cool way in.
My question to you is, if you climbed into bed tonight and you called your wife Cabbage, what would she say?
I did notice that he calls her Cabbage.
That's a quick little moment, but it stood out to me.
That must be real, right?
Yeah, it is real.
Yeah, they got that from real life.
That's not something that an original screenplay could ever come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rebecca would be okay with it. I mean, we're usually pretty good with weird nicknames.
In terms of endearment,
but Cabbage, of all things, it's just a bland circle. It doesn't taste great on its own.
It looks like an old person's hair, maybe in some ways. I don't know.
kind of wrinkly.
But that moment where her husband calls her cabbage, it kind of was. I do like seeing the inside life of a public figure. I mean, there's something that's that feels journalistic to me in that pursuit, and trying to understand somebody that we normally don't get the view of. So I thought that was pretty successful.
The Crown on Netflix is also very good at that with this particular family, and it goes through decades. So you have a different actress at different ages playing the Queen.
Yeah, actually, my wife watched that, and she didn't really like how it was kind of jarring. Like you like one
really?
actor, and then it's replaced by somebody else totally.
I mean, when Olivia Colman is the person who replaces the old actor, I mean, that's a pretty good replacement. It's not like you're going to the B squad there. But let's go back to talking about biopics, Brian.
Okay.
Bob Mondello, NPR. He says a lesser director might make all of this deadly earnest, but Frears treats it as what you might call a tragicomedy of manners. Perfectly serious, but human foibles everywhere. And to me, that's what I appreciated a lot about this. The subject of historical figures aren't treated so they're not mythologized as much as they are in other biopics, and this movie feels grounded. So, do you think that that's because both of these characters are still alive, Tony Blair and Queen Elizabeth?
I don't know. You mean like that they felt like they could get away with being more real with them, less mythologizing them?
Yeah,
yeah, it could be. I also think that what made it work is that while there are certain things that you really can't quite understand about, the majesty of it all, the Queen is kind of like, this is ridiculous. Why are they trying to make me go out and make an appearance? And while I'm watching that, I'm like, yeah, I kind of see her point there. And then Tony Blair is like, why would she not come out and make an appearance? And you can see that. So I think both sides they're both sympathetic, and I think that's really what makes it successful. You can really understand each point of view.
Yeah, they're human, and I think, to me, I think that that's because these characters are still alive, so they don't seem. There's not a sense that we need to be hands off, that we need to just idolize them without question. I think we see them more as people, which gives us some scenes where they might be stubborn and making the wrong decision, and other scenes where they know they're right, but Tony Blair is the new guy and he can't really say it yet. And then it's only once he starts getting when the scale tips and he's the one who's kind of got the whole country behind him that he can sort of push her a little bit into saying, times are changing.
My second question is this a horror movie? I'm just kidding. Yeah. But if this were a horror movie, which it's not,
no,
who would the villain be? Who's the villain in this movie? Is there one?
If it's a horror movie, I'm going to say Princess Diana. Because she's kind of the ghost that hangs over this whole thing. Her presence is felt, even though she's not really in the frame.
That's interesting. I didn't really think of it that way. My thought was that the untamable monster of public perception is basically the villain. They're always afraid of public perception. They don't know. It's unpredictable, and it could take them. It can take down the monarchy. Could take down Tony Blair. When public perception is smiling on Blair, he's the king. So Helen Mirren's character, the Queen, at the end says, "Headlines will defeat you too, Mr. Blair, without warning." The villain in the end wins, right? The villain is still lurking at the end of this movie. So that's partly why I think it does kind of leave like an open ending. It's complex, and that's one of the reasons I like it. What's the effect of the real footage, though?
I think it's great.
Me too.
The archival footage,
well.
I think, is really cool. They intercut it in such a way to where Diana does feel like a part of this movie, even though it's really her and everybody else are actors.
I was kind of like, who now? Kristen Stewart plays her in Spencer. Who played her in this movie? And I was like, oh yeah, it's really her.
It's really her. Yeah, archival footage, great use here, I think. Renee Rodriguez, Miami Herald, she says, the Queen allows us to understand just how heavy the crown really sits. And I was just curious if she's right. Did this movie accomplish that for you? Were you thinking about the royals and how that institution operates during this watch and afterwards?
I wouldn't describe it that way exactly. I think that one of the most telling parts of it was when she claims that she knows her people. And the movie basically is about her realizing she doesn't as much. And so the weight of the crown, I mean, she seems totally in control of the crown from the beginning. She's like, okay, Mr. Blair, you know, you don't have to kneel like that. Please don't try to like kiss my hand. Like, just get in line here. Did I really have to make that drag on for half an hour? She's the one who's calling everything. Yeah. And she has grown up with this power. So
and with knowing that sort of her role is to be impartial and to not show emotion. And now in the modern time, that doesn't really fly as much anymore. So it's a question of tradition versus modernization. Are you going to change with the times, or are you going to get left behind?
But that doesn't sound like the weight of the crown to me.
No, that's what I like about it too. It almost makes it seem ordinary.
Yeah,
their life. I mean, yes, they live in a palace.
Yeah.
But still, it's about leadership in any form. That's what I think is so interesting about this movie. It does always come back to public relations and to optics.
The whole world is a PR.
Yeah, and also
PR stage.
It centers around a death, but it is 100% not about grief. It's about what happens after, you know, how do the dominoes fall after somebody of public notoriety dies? How are you supposed to react?
In fact, that's what's really fascinating. It's a movie about death when the central figures are not mourning.
No.
Everyone else is, but the main people are not.
Yep.
It's pretty surprising, which again, we want to be surprised. We want to feel like this is a new experience going into this movie, not like every old biopic.
It almost makes me think about cancel culture. I almost hate saying those two words together now because there's such a...
Great. Now we're going to get canceled.
Because there's a lot of weight, baggage attached to those words now. But...
We're probably going to get canceled in England.
We might. When someone does something that the internet decides that they don't like, whether or not the person believes that they did anything wrong, doesn't matter how they feel.
Matter.
All that matters is that they come out and they give their little public apology, and everyone says, yes, we won. The internet won this one because we made them come out of the shadows and hang their head. The
whole time, though, I was thinking that even if the Queen does come out, just like Tony Blair says in the trailer there, the time for this apology is past. Like, you can come out and make your appearance. It doesn't really mean that it's going to solve anything.
It did, though.
It did. And that was good. That kind of basically gave it a happy ending.
And it was almost because at the beginning of the movie, she could have just gotten away with coming out and talking to the media behind the gates for 5 minutes and saying, we're all very sad.
We're so sad. We're mourning here. Thank you for respecting our privacy.
But once that time passes, the big show that she has to make is just walking through a crowd for 5 minutes and looking at flowers and just being there in person. But that seems like such a big deal because, she doesn't normally do that.
It's a great shot, when she's looking at the flowers and the camera's down at the flower level looking up at her, and she's silhouetted almost against a white sky, totally overcast. And it's like this really, dominant shot. And she's like this imposing figure, but she's not very queenly really in that moment. But the shot is kind of designed to make it look like that kind of a stereotype or that kind of trope.
Yeah. She's one of the people.
Yeah.
But then it also makes the people kind of feel like they're the ones who are really in charge because they sort of got her out of her house. They made her show herself.
The power of the people, the untamable monster.
Yeah, yeah.
The horrors of queen life.
What about Tony Blair?
What about him?
As a modern icon, I guess, in this movie. I kind of felt like they maybe went a little bit far with having him wear soccer jerseys and have a guitar propped in the corner. Yeah. And he's always clearing his own dishes from the table. Like, I think just the fact that he lives in a smaller house than her and says, "Call me Tony," I think you can get away with just that, and we would understand that he's kind of the modern yin to her, traditional yang.
I didn't think it was over the top. I mean, I don't know. They got to shoot scenes in different rooms, so one of them's got to have dishes.
I want to know if he plays guitar.
He does, actually. That's part of my trivia.
All right.
The electric guitar seen behind Blair in his personal office is a reference to his past membership in the band Ugly Rumors.
Ooh,
while a student.
PR.
Is there a better band title than Ugly Rumors for a PR guy?
I love it. This is great.
That's what your memoir should be called, Ugly Rumors.
Ooh, that's a good call.
Tribute to Tony Blair, which, your hero.
my hero.
My question,
Yeah, it's
my
true.
third question is, why does the queen cry at the river?
You mean when she sees the
is
deer?
Is that the best scene in the movie?
I'll put it this way. I saw this movie in theater back when it came out in 2006. And for whatever reason, I remembered that scene clearly going into this watch.
I did not. I think I might have watched this back then, but it was mostly, I didn't remember much about it.
Yeah, I don't really know why. I didn't remember the rest of the movie so much. I don't know if it's because that scene is set in nature and the rest is,
it's very jarring scene. Really.
It is, and it's the only time that she shows any emotion.
Yep.
So it does stand out in that way.
Stephen Frears is like, the Oscars are waiting for you. Come on,
play it up a little bit more. But I don't know. I guess it's the deer is a metaphor for time, right? For tradition, and she's trying to let it go, hold on for one last bit before the deer is shot, and she's gotta move on.
She's very unqueenly. She just got stuck in the river.
Yep.
She's wearing this funny looking bonnet.
Yep.
Sorry for anybody who likes those bonnets. Don't want to get canceled. But she gets out and she steps in the river. She just told people, I don't want to get any help driving out here. So she's all alone in this incredible wilderness, and this stag, it's like stunning. And I don't know, seeing wildness, her life is the opposite of wildness. Mm-hmm. And this is looking at it in the face, and she's just struck by the beauty of it. And then, I don't know. I think that
she shoos it away because she
doesn't want it to get killed. The mystery of it, I think you can kind of think through why she was crying there, but that was a really powerful moment, because it is kind of like a surprise, and it's not totally clear why she's crying. I don't think she could really describe why she was crying.
No, and I think
that's really
partly
effective.
It's the death. I think partly it's because
you think she's thinking about the death of Diana in that moment?
No, but I think that it's a lot of things that she's not allowed to show in her public life. But this is the one time that she gets to just be a person and a woman, and she's seeing something beautiful in nature. I think that it's a metaphor for times past, and she knows that the time is up for this deer. There are several people hunting it.
Yeah,
and it's gonna go soon.
It's kind of a metaphor for the monarchy. In a way, like it's a regal kind of beast.
Yeah, and kind of being hated, in the media in that moment. She can't be upset about that when she's in the palace, but when you're out in the wild, I guess not the Wild West, but when you're out in the big world, Brian, you can show a little tears.
All right, trivia, or did you already ask your last question?
Yeah, my questions are done.
So Michael Sheen. This is the third. Well, he's played Tony Blair 3 times.
Wow.
The Deal in 2003 and The Special Relationship in 2010. So this is my plug to throw him in there one more time. Let's do 4. Let's just make him like
4 Blairs.
Typecast as Tony Blair.
Okay.
Helen Mirren said that transforming herself into the Queen came almost naturally after the wig and glasses, since she shares a, quote, default facial expression, a slightly downturned mouth with the monarch.
RBF?
Unquote.
Is she talking RBF?
RBF, what's that?
Resting B face?
Thank you for censoring that.
I thought you would appreciate
PG
that.
show. But yeah, I like that, the default facial expression. Tony Blair's shots were done with 16 millimeter film, and the Queen was 35 millimeter film.
Ah, that's cool.
Making her look a little more, smooth.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. So Keep It or Kick It. Is this, it's early. This is the first one.
Yeah.
So does this have a shot at your 5? Does it have a shot at your 10?
I actually would say that it does have an outside shot at my 5.
Yeah.
I like this movie quite a bit.
I did too.
But if I'm really being honest, I feel like
come.
by the end of this series, this is one that's probably going to get edged out.
Yeah, if you say that this will be kept, then I will call you out right now and say that that's a total lie.
Yeah, but
it is very
big
good
fan.
movie.
I've seen it twice, really liked it both times. And even going into this, I was kind of like, all right, here we go, let's watch The Queen. And I was locked into it the whole time.
See, you have a total prejudice against any historically accurate movie. That's what I've learned. Deny it.
I don't know.
Just try to deny it. Okay, so I will say that out of the movies that I've seen so far, it is in my top 5.
Okay. That's a good hedge.
But I haven't done Children of Men, which I think has a decent shot.
I'm looking forward to rewatching that. Yeah.
I haven't rewatched Letters from Iwo Jima, which I totally was blown away by when I first watched it. It's been a long time.
Never seen it.
You never seen it?
It's going to be a first watch.
You're going to like it, I'm pretty sure. Although it is historically somewhat accurate as far as I know. A Little Miss Sunshine, I love.
Yeah.
I'm kind of not... The Departed is definitely... I'm not expecting it to make my top 5. But it's been a while, and I'm excited for that. And then there's a handful of others that like have an outside shot. So anyway, The Queen has a chance, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in my top 10. Not sure about 5.
So you're saying there's a chance. What are we doing next week?
Next week, we are going to talk about Click, which is Adam Sandler's least funny, but maybe his most disturbing comedy.
Least funny. Have you seen Reign Over Me?
No, I haven't. I actually
9/11 movie.
have not seen all of Adam Sandler's work, so I probably should not have. I shouldn't have said that.
From The Queen to Adam Sandler. I like this trajectory. Find us at bestpicturethis.com on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you listen. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Best Picture This. And for 16 years of Golden Takes, head over to Letterboxd/Mike Cavalieri.
And to support the show, check out patreon.com/bestpicturethis, and you can help pick a bonus episode.
Thanks to WNZF and the illustrious Mark Gilliland for producing. Also, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe.
As we close, just a reminder to check that default facial expression.